Hello and welcome back to our top 50 games of all time. This is games number 40 to 31. I'm Carlo. I'm here with Braiden and Dylan. We're going to keep this intro nice and short because we talked about enough stuff in the intro last time. We're not going to repeat anything we covered in the previous intro, but there is one thing we want to touch on, which is kind of how we, put together these lists, because we didn't talk about that before. Dylan, why don't you take it away?
Sure. So I did something a little bit differently this year, so you're not going to see any drastic differences because of this, but I will say that I tried to focus a lot more on just game against game, which one do I have more fun with? A lot of times in the previous list, I would factor in a little bit more if I hadn't played the game that year, which I still factored this time, but I just put a lot more emphasis on if I were to play both these games right now I say both these games when they were ranked on PubMeeple for me. If I played them both right now, which one would I say is more fun? And so I let that kind of dictate my list. And so there's some changes from games that I didn't even play this last year that either moved down or up even, just based on my memories of them and also how much fun I think the game is.
Yeah, I'm in this almost the exact same boat. I really tried to rank game against game in terms of the fun factor. But I also kind of kept in mind how approachable some of the games were and how likely I was to get them to the table as well.
Nice.
Cool. And for me, I looked at my exact top 50 from last year. Then I looked at all of
the same.
Then I looked at all of the games that I played either for the first time or that I played again in the past year. And I ended up having 15 more games added. So I had a short list of 65 games. And then I just started kind of trimming games off until I think I got down to 52. And then I kind of ranked them in PubMeeple in a few different kind of tiers. And the main thing I'll say that's going to be different, that might come as a surprise, you're going to see games that are new to me that I played for the first time or whatever that are very high on the list. And in the past, I was very hesitant to do that because I'd be like, well, how can this game be in my, top 10 or top 20 or whatever if I only played this many times or if it's just the last year? But I just kind of tried to base it off of what were my first impression? If I played this game and asked myself, is this one of the greatest games I've ever played already? I didn't try to hold it back too far on the list. So there are going to be some surprises that are pretty high up, but I played a lot of really amazing games for the first time this past year.
Sweet. That's a good teaser. Should I kick it off?
Yes.
Kick it off.
Okay. My number 40 is new to the list this year, and I think you guys will both be happy that it actually made it onto my list. I think I've only played it, was it only once or twice? But it left a big impression on me. Just once. And that is Zoo Vadis. Nice. So Zoo Vadis is on here because honestly, if I had played it 5 or 6 times, it could have been higher than this. I almost surely would have been. It's just tons of hilarity and tons of fun. The actual mechanics that are going on in the game, it's almost like the way I kind of explain King's Dilemma to people, where they're like, what do you do in the game? And I'm like, kind of all you do is vote. And they're like, and it's really that fun. Zoo Vadis, in many ways, when I've explained it to people who haven't played games like this before, they're like, what do you do? And it's like, well, you negotiate and you're bidding together the thing. It's hard to explain it, but in practice, when you're actually playing it, it works so well, and it's just so much fun. And the debates that happen around the table are just hard to match in other games. Again, I don't know that this will ever be hit the highs that Modern Art hits for me, for instance, that are kind of in that kind of same genre. But Zoo Vadis is really, really good, and I was really happy to see that it landed on my list this year at spot 40.
Nice. And a game where, as you said in the holiday gift guide, you get to threaten your friends.
You do get to threaten your friends. Yeah. That's the best part.
Yeah. And one other thing I'll say real quick about this is one of the games that literally was in my head as I was giving how I made my list.
Oh, awesome.
So it is yet to come. I'll say that right now. Spoiler.
Yeah, okay.
Number 2 on Carlo's list.
Not quite.
My number 40 game has dropped 35 spots. An absolute plummet from last year.
This guy was ranking his 75th game when you did your top 10 last year? What the heck?
This is My City by Reiner.
Oh, wow. That's a big drop.
Yeah, it was my number 5 game. And I think just the nostalgia from when I have played it has kind of worn away. I haven't gone back to it. I have been playing the rolling build version of it, and I'll have more to say about that. Not in these videos, or will I? But I think My City, the legacy version was just great. I just haven't got back to it. It's a great game, great to table. One of my wife's favorite games too. But for me, I don't know how often I'm going to be going back to that legacy game or the regular game that you could go back to, right? It's solid. It's really good, but I don't know. It just doesn't have that same luster as it used to.
It's fair.
I'm surprised and not surprised at the same time because my city had the same kind of drop for me, or I don't even, maybe it was the first time it was on my list, but it just came in at 50 last year. But it's hard to rank Legacy and those type of games because
especially when you're done with it.
Yeah, and my city, I played it once with the finished board or whatever, and it was just okay. Like it's nowhere near the same. So how much do you hold that nostalgia and those memories to something you can never play again unless you start from the very beginning again, right?
And I like to think like my top 50s are kind of encapsulating for like the year and like maybe within like the past 2 years roughly, right?
Yeah.
So I think like if you haven't played the Legacy version of this, like definitely give it a try. It's so good. The way it increases in complexity, like slowly builds.
Yep.
Yeah, based on what I know about how Sarah feels about this, you might have to make sure she doesn't see this video. Although I know you guys are playing My City Roll and Build, and you're going to play My Island, so one of those might be on the list in the future. So yeah. All right, my number 40 game of all time has dropped 15 spots. That is Fayum. So this is by Freedom and Friesa. The only reason why it's dropped 15 spots is because I didn't play within the past year. Simple as that. And even, I think in total, I played it 3 times in the first year that I had it. Or year and a half or so, and just haven't gone back to it since. Love this game, but it's one of those games that I think will benefit from repeat plays with the same group, because remember when we played it, Dylan, there was how much were we passing back that glossary?
Yeah.
Being like, what does this card do? Oh, okay, cool. What does this card do? What does this card do? And by the time you get to the end of that first game or halfway through, you've kind of figured everything out, but if you don't go back to it again soon, the game takes a bit longer than it should, and the glossary kind of stands in the way a bit. But the fact that you're kind of nobody owns anything on the map, and you're kind of building things out that just belong to the Pharaoh, and then people can benefit off of each other's, again, not each other's, off of what's on the map, and the card engine that you build, and how you kind of put the cards down and take the administration action, Concordia style stuff going on. I love it, and I would love to play with you guys and a 4th or 5th player sometime to see, if it can become a semi-regular game in our rotation.
Yeah, it's one that I think for me it's always going to be kind of like decent to good. And each play will kind of differ. There's a couple minor issues I have that have come up, but overall, I've never left a session being like, oh, I wish I didn't play that, or I think it's a bad game. It's just like, I never hits the highs that they've hit for you.
For sure.
But I've only also played, I think, twice.
Yeah, and I know the art was kind of an issue for you.
Yeah, that too. Which that's a weird thing always, because some games I like I'm fine with them being bland. For some reason, that one specifically just doesn't. I don't like it. the art.
I don't think you like the art in any Freedom and Friesa game.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Sad.
It's me.
It's you.
So my number 39 was a 39 last year, and considering all the movement I did, and I moved this around a few times at different spots, so I'm really surprised I ended up at the exact same spot, and that's Arboretum. So Arboretum hasn't moved, and it honestly says a lot to that game that it hasn't moved, because I didn't play it at all this last year. So the fact that it's still there is because Arboretum is just a really tricky, grueling game that is beautiful to look at the same time. So the trees are really colorful. It looks like an inviting game. It looks like a casual game. And then when you get into it, you find out that it's cutthroat beyond belief. And sometimes people will have no points at the end of the game. Sometimes you will steal points away from someone who is going after a specific color, and they'll be heartbroken. It is a cutthroat game. But it is tons of fun. And honestly, if I had played it, it would have moved back up. I think it's just one of those games I need to suggest more. People need to suggest more around me, because it'll probably always be somewhere on my list, just because I have so much respect for it as a game. And I enjoy it when I do play it. I just don't play it enough.
Simple deck of cards. And best with 4 players. Yeah. Contrary to what BGG says. Best with 4.
BGG says best at 2, right?
Yeah, which is...
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I played it at 2 twice, and I didn't like either play. And I found the 3 and 4 player games to be more cutthroat and more interesting.
Absolutely. Have you played this?
No.
We'll play it.
Add it to the cabin list.
Yeah,
Go to the cabin.
Put it on the counter. My number 39 game of all time is Welcome to. That's it. Welcome to. Where you are putting numbers on neighborhood houses, trying to fit them in order and to meet different criteria. This one was good. This one actually was one that my wife was insistent that I buy. Is very rare. And I've actually really enjoyed, the different variations that the decisions you're trying to make, trying to fit in numbers and go, okay, if I play this here, it's going to I'm committing to this being a 3 now, okay, or a 2B or something, right? Or not to be. But I've actually really enjoyed it. Very easy to kind of, once you kind of understand the basis of it, very easy to just kind of throw on the table, play for half an hour or a little bit longer and knocks out a game. And it scales well, I think, too, right? There's no, like, unless you have one person who's just sitting there thinking all the time, then that's it.
Yeah, what's funny is the way I re-ranked my games this year kind of factors stuff in. It came in at like 53 or 54. It almost made it because I really thought back and I'm like, every time I played this, a lot of it was on BGA during the pandemic and stuff. It was so much fun, and I always left like a game would end and I'd be like, I would be down to play that again. Like it leaves a good impression. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's one that every year we do these rankings. This is the third year in a row where it's in the kind of 50 to 70 range for me, and I keep expecting it like to cool on this game. And even after like 30 to 40 plays in person and on BGA combined, I still love this game. One of the best kind of roll and write, flip and draw, whatever kind of games out there.
I gotta try the Moon one.
Oh, Welcome to the Moon's good. It's real good. I haven't played enough. It's not in my top 50, but yeah.
Spoilers.
Whatever. Number 39, dropping 5 spots, is a game that Braiden talked about in the last video, and that is High Society. So what can I say that Braiden didn't say? You know what? One of my favorite things about the game is the fact that you have a preset hand of money cards of different values, and they're like, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, but then it's more spread out. Like there's like a 6, an 8, a 12, a 15, a 20, and a 25 or something like that. And when you win a bid, it doesn't matter like how much you win by. You don't get change. So like if you had to use that 20 card, that card's gone. Or if you wanted to up your bid by 1 or 2, early on, the first couple times you play, you don't think those cards are valuable because you're like, whatever, it's just $1 or $2. But later on, if you want to just beat someone by $1, you don't want to spend your like 6 card because that's a lot of money. And so it's the hand management aspect really kind of creeps up on you the more you play this game. You start realizing you have to be so selective with how you bid and which cards you use at which time. Love this game, and the fact that the game end is unpredictable. It's when the 4th green card comes up, the game ends. So sometimes that's early, sometimes that's late. Oh, that's it. Amazing game.
You didn't have to end it that fast. That's it. You summed it up really well. I mean, the two of you both have combined to basically say all my thoughts on it. Yeah. It's a great game.
We're high on High Society.
High on High Society. All right, I just want to make sure I got this one right.
Bring it to the cabin.
I did. Okay. So my number 38 game, which has moved up 10 spots from last year, is Codenames Duet. So just for you guys, like I said this last year, I didn't put Codenames on this list because I've really replaced Codenames with Codenames Duet, which seems weird because one's a 2-player game, one's a party game. I think the Duet version is better. I get more out of the Duet version. I play it way more. It's one of my go-to date games. It's tons of fun. I honestly, every year, seem to play this more and more. So the reason it's moved up is just I've had some really good plays of it this year. I find that it's a really good gateway game for people, which was not something I expected when I first got it. Braiden gifted this game to me, and I think that at the time I didn't know that there was a 2-player game, or I knew, but I hadn't really looked into it. It was one of the nice surprises of normally when I get into one of these games that sticks around the list like this, because I bought it for myself, or I've been looking at it for a while, to just kind of get it unexpectedly and have it stick around my top 50 and get played this much. It's been one of the nicest board game surprises in my collection for sure. Yeah, so get Braiden to buy you board game gifts because apparently he's really good at it.
Yeah, it's just not just one, okay?
Yeah.
This is one of the 40-ish unplayed games on my shelf that I have to get to sometime this year.
Yeah,
so good.
It's one I actually added to my collection. I played a bunch now too.
Nice.
It's great.
It's good.
My number 38 might come as a surprise to one person in particular. We'll see. That's Innovation at number 38. Innovation, Carlo and I played multiple games of this. I consider it almost an exclusively a 2-player game, but you can play it with more players. A game where it's basically a civilization. I don't want to say simulation, but kind of their very rough abstraction of such, where you're going through the ages, increasing your technology, and affecting the other players forward in some way, all in the goal of scoring, actually multiple different victory conditions, but scoring points in different ways. And the card powers on them increase in not only complexity, but also just the power that they hold and can hold across your opponent too. And that's what really sells me for this game, is just the depth to that we've kind of found playing so many games of it, and the what kind of emerged from it too. If you can find someone to play this with, 2-player bunch, I would say dive head on into Innovation.
Yeah. I know it's a family channel, but I just have to say this is one of the games with the most holy shit moments in all of board games. And I'm so happy to see this on your list. And for anyone who wants to hear a more in-depth breakdown, we covered this in a retro reviews video earlier this year.
Yeah, I need to play it a lot more. The only thing I just want to ask you guys quickly, does it bother you, either of you, that a game came out called Age of Innovation, even though innovation has ages in it, and those are the ages of innovation?
A little bit. I think it bothers me more that it's Age of Innovation : a Terra Mystica game.
Yeah,
Get
totally.
out of here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're up.
Just busy being upset about
distracted
yeah. Okay, my number 38 game has dropped 22 spots this year. And that is a game that Dylan spoke about in the last video. That is The Voyages of Marco Polo. Main reason why this has dropped is I think the main reason is that once I played through all of the power, I think I played it more than you in the past year, only on BGA as well. I think that's part of it maybe. And I think after I've played through all of the different character powers like multiple times, I've had just a little bit less incentive to go back to it. But this is another one that's just mostly a victim of a lot of other games bumping ahead of it on the list. And I think maybe I had 16 at last year. Maybe that was a little too high, riding the recency bias there. But such a fun game, and it's so tight. Like, every turn, every round, you feel like you're a couple camels short of what you want to do. You're like, oh, next round I'll get that gold that I need to fulfill this contract, or I can't really get to Beijing even though I really want to get, like, you can never achieve what you want. And so when you eventually have a game where you get a really high score, it's so rewarding. I definitely will buy my own copy of this game one day to play the physical version. I love it.
The point you said there, it makes me feel like this would be a video we do in the future, is like, it's funny how you can love a game and then just play it enough and realize that like your love goes down because you've played it. Like, the game is not meant to maybe be played like 20, 30, 40 times or whatever, right? And it would be super cool for us to do a video one time about the games that after X amount of plays are like have not gone down in like they don't age poorly kind of thing. I don't know. There's something there, because I think that's just an interesting topic as you were kind of describing it.
Yeah.
Voyages of Marco Polo. Okay.
When you said camels, I just
I
just played it. I was like, I don't understand, but you need camels.
Yeah. You need them for everything in the game.
Number 37 for me is a game that was not on the list last year, and really it was just because I hadn't played it enough, or it wasn't giving it its proper due, because I had amazing plays of it this year. I feel like this is the respect it deserves at this position, and that is Ink and Gold.
Nice.
Ink and Gold is so much fun. I had the plays I had this year were probably not the best I've had. One of them specifically was just really, really good, but they reminded me that this game is really, really good with casual gamers, non-gamers. I just talked about it in another video. But also, just like me, who plays a ton of board games, I get kind of the same thing out of it that all the people that are casual gamers on the table are getting out of it. The rules are super easy to teach. It's a push your luck game, which is really easy to understand, wrap your head around. It causes lots of laughs. Push your luck in general causes lots of laughs and hilarity and stuff like that around the table. And there's just something really satisfying about seeing it dwindle down to like 2 people left, and those 2 people are still venturing through, and one of them finally pulls out, and then it's just one person left going through, and it's like, are they going to get all the gems? Are they going to get nothing? Like, it's such a satisfying thing to watch, and every result would end with everyone around the table going, oh, and like having a big moment. Like, a game being able to do that it says a lot about the game. So Ink and Gold finally makes my list 37.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about
So good.
One thing I'll just add real quick, I didn't mention this when I talked about last video. Of any game I've ever played, this is the game that I've ended with 0 points the most often.
I just expected
it's still
it at
top
this
50
point.
I love it. It never bothers me. I love it.
It's your Libertalia for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My number 37 is also new to the list, much like everything. And this is King Domino. King Domino, where this is one that I selected for the gift guide, I believe, as well this year. Again, simple to get to the table. You're going to see that, I think, often in my list too. Really easy to approach, but still has that very similar to what was the game you just mentioned? Just completely
Ink and Gold.
Ink and Gold. Where you can get the same out of it as someone who's just approaching it as a gamer. if you will. But yeah, building out your empire with matching terrain tiles, building up crowns, being selective of where you're bidding, and then that affecting your next round of like the order that you're bidding, and it's constantly shifting, and trying to figure out which tiles are going to come out next and when to go for a certain tile and when to not, I think is really fun.
Yeah, it's a solid game.
King Domino.
It just missed my list this year, actually.
It's actually one that I don't physically own, and I need to absolutely rectify that.
It's so good.
Yeah, especially the 5x or the 7x7 variant for 2 players is amazing. I will say, you've already had at least 2 Spiel des Jahres games on the list. When we do by the way, we're going to be doing a Patreon exclusive after the 10-1 comes out, analyzing our top 50 games list. I'm going to look back and see who had the most Spiel des Jahres winners on their list, because you've got at least a couple already, and might have more.
I definitely at least.
Oh yeah, at least one more. Not just one more though. Number 37 on my list, down 2 spots, measly 2 spots, is Biblios. So a game that I think will probably always live somewhere in this 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 kind of range. I don't think it's ever going to get to the heights that some other unnamed people will have it. But it's such a good game, such a fun game. Every once in a while there's things that every maybe 6th or 7th play of it, I have something that comes up where I go, that's what prevents it from being higher up on the list for me. But I love the kind of, first off, the fact that you like keep looking at cards and you choose like, well, I guess depending on player count, usually it's like you keep one goes into the auction, and then a certain number of them go face up on the table for the other players, but you have to do it one at a time. It's such an interesting decision of like, you see a good card on your first pull, and it's like, in a way you want to keep it, but in another way you want to put it into the auction so that you know it's there and other people don't. And the fact we love 2-phase games, and this is one of the best 2-phase games out there. I'll leave it at that, but I just love Biblios.
This is one that actually I, now just thinking about it again, I regret that is, spoilers, it's not on my list this year, and I think it was just off.
Yeah. I mean, it also is a game that it's another one that as I play it, I realize that like it's not for everyone, and not even just that, it's not going to hit the same levels for everyone. And also I will agree that a game of Biblios can be very different in terms of enjoyment from another game of Biblios. Like it shifts a lot. I just like the times when I have my good games of Biblios, it's so good.
Oh yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And for anyone who hasn't tried it, there's The King in Me, or For the King in Me is on BGA to try for free, and it's basically a modern remake with a couple different rule adjustmts. So try it out if you haven't, because this is a very overlooked game.
My number 36 is up 9 spots from last year, and it's just because I played it a bunch this year, and I continue to get my appreciation for it kind of rebounding back, and that's The Mind. The Mind is such a solid game. I play with a really good friend of mine, Sarah. Often that's kind of like our go-to. Every couple hangs, we play this game to see if we can finally beat level 12 on 2 players. I think we got to 11 last time. It is a game that is really about the people at the table. That's what I think is just so, like, we talk about mechanics in games. The mechanics here are whatever people bring to the game, because you don't know what's in everyone's hands. You're having to learn everyone's tendencies. You have to learn about how they're going to respond to different numbers, how quick they're going to respond, and take that into your decision making. If you have a good game of the mind, it means you're understanding people around the table better. And often the first game you play of the mind will be not the last game you play in that session. You'll play it again and you'll always improve because you start to understand how it works. I just think it's such a great game, and I just hope that more people that haven't discovered it discover it, talk about it more, play it, because I just think it's also just it's a different kind of icebreaker. Like just having that kind of interaction on the table, learning about people silently, there's something to be said for that. So
that is true, right?
Yeah, like
it's kind of an oxymoron where it's like we're gonna learn about each other by not talking.
Yeah.
It's like no, but like learning their tendencies, yeah.
I have a lot of love for this game, lots of appreciation, so it does move up 9 spots.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is credit to you for pointing this out in a past video. I had never thought of it this way until you mentioned it, but of any game ever created, this is one of the ones that leads to the most eye contact. Like just direct staring into someone's eyes. I can't really think of any other game off the top of my head that invokes that as much.
Yeah, totally.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, credit to Dylan.
Thank you.
My number 36 is one that surprised me for sure. That I wasn't expecting it to make the list, but I was a little bit surprised by it. And that's Beyond the Sun. Beyond the Sun, the Euro game that really I like. At first, I was like, okay, this is fine. Then I played it a few more times, like, oh, okay, this is good. I don't mind this. And I started to learn it a little bit more and more, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, okay. I really sunk my teeth into it. And I really enjoy it, like the way the different approaches that you would take to whatever's available on the technology track, knowing which technologies are out there, how it's going to benefit you, and trying to figure out a way, almost kind of like Res Arcana style, where you're trying to make the most out of the technologies that you research versus where you are. Then you're also playing in the planetary side of the board and everything too, like trying to balance those out and like be efficient with your discs and everything, what you need. I found that really, really enjoying with Beyond the Sun.
Yeah, great game. I'd like to play it again. It's been a while for me. And we will be doing Beyond the Sun on a new gamer journey video coming at some point in 2024, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
I've only played this game twice, and it's one of those games where I like so many aspects of it, but for some reason the way they all come together and the length of the game, it makes it not something that I'm ever like excited to go back to. But I feel like the time I played on BGA, the speed of it I enjoyed more than when I played it in person.
The setup and the teach, playing in person, are the main barriers, I would say.
I would agree with that.
Okay, number 36 on my list. The first game that is staying at the exact same spot as last year. Good old reliable Can't Stop. Can't Stop, amazing game. One thing I want to add before I forget anything else. Tom Lehman, legendary designers, designed some of the greatest games of all time. You find his account on Board Game Geek. The guy has played and rated tons of games. He has only rated 2 games ever in history a 10 out of 10, and Can't Stop is one of them. Wow. So for anyone who says, like, this is a guy whose games have a ton of randomness in them, and who's, like, I think a master of balancing the degree of randomness in games, and people who bash this game for being all luck-based, like, tell Tom Lehman and he'll tell you why you're wrong. Anyways, such one of my favorite, maybe my favorite push your luck game. One of them, certainly. I think there's a lot more kind of control that this game gives you than people give it credit for, because of the fact that, and here's the thing to say, because I'm running out of time here, the best part about it is the fact that you never have to stop pushing your luck. There's other games where, like in Ink and Gold or whatever, things like, there's things where it doesn't ever make sense to keep pushing. In Can't Stop, you can literally win the game on your first turn if you're bold enough and lucky enough. It's wild. I love it.
Yeah, great. I love Can't Stop as well. I just, for whatever reason, it's not a game that, like, I put it in the rankings every year that I've done this, or at least the last 2 years. And every year, as it ranks against games, it never even comes close. Look, I shouldn't say never comes close. It gets probably like 80 to 100 or something like that. But I just, like, I have a hard time ranking Can't Stop against other games because of its simplicity for some reason. But
it's good.
Yeah, it is really good.
And it's like almost 40 years old, and it came out in 1980. It's like the pinnacle of, like, simple but effective design, I think.
What's Tom Lehman's other 10?
I can't remember now. I think it was one of the 18XX games. Okay. I could be wrong.
It's Res Arcana.
And I will say, he has Agricola ranked very high too, but he does say it's not best with 4 for some reason, which I think is wrong. That's a question.
And that's why Can't Stop's ahead of Res Arcana.
My number 35, I didn't even look, because I was like, it's debuting on the list. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think it might have squeaked onto the list last year. So, Carlo, you might remember as I say it, I thought it was on the list last year. Number 35 for me is Evergreen.
This was not on the last.
It was not. Okay, so debut on the list is Evergreen. So Evergreen is a game that is sort of a spiritual spin-off of photosynthesis. I prefer to photosynthesis now, even though I like photosynthesis a lot. It basically involves everyone having their own personal board instead of working off of the collective board like in photosynthesis. And you are kind of creating a bunch of different trees from the very beginning sprouts all the way up to the larger trees in different biomes. And each biome is going to score differently based on a row of cards that are out there. You have a bunch of player powers that you can increase so that you can do certain things more efficiently than other things, and everyone can go after certain ones. It's just a really solid game. And I played it with 2 people who don't, for the first time with people who don't play board games very often or don't play at all. And both of them, when we finished, even though I had a bunch of other games we were going to play, were like, can we just play Evergreen again? Like, it is a really solid game. And it says a lot that I prefer to photosynthesis, because I really loved photosynthesis and I still do. And that just speaks volumes to Evergreen, I think, as a game.
I had a feeling it was going to be on your list. I was going to make a prediction that it was going to be higher.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be higher when I started the rankings. And I think it's a game I think can grow. But honestly, I played it. I've obviously played it multiple times this year, but I think I would have taken me playing it more for it to go higher than this. But I will say that photosynthesis did go off the list this year, and Evergreen is on the list.
Yes,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah. I also like Evergreen more, and as I mentioned in my 2022 tier list video, this is a game all about trade-offs. You do something, and then you can't do that other thing, and it's
Yeah.
Awesome trade-offs. I want to play this a lot more.
For sure.
All right, my number 35, I think, is our first triple crossover. And that is Wavelength.
Nice.
Wavelength. These guys have said a lot about it. I backed it on Kickstarter. I will take credit for that. It's a phenomenal party game. It's great. It's approachable. You can play with anybody. It gets the conversation started, really, like you guys said.
Yep.
It's got the dial. It's tons of fun. Dial it in with Wavelength.
Do you have a favorite card that's come up?
Absolutely not.
Okay. For some reason, every time I try to describe this game, I'm always like, I'm going to use some cool card examples. And every time I go, but it can be like hot and cold. I'm like, this is the most boring example.
Like rough and smooth, maybe?
Or do you have a story of one particular clue that someone gave and where the discussion went? I always love hearing that.
Oh, I can't remember, to be honest. I remember playing this at your place for your birthday, I believe it was.
Right.
And that was really interesting because usually I played with people who I'm very familiar with, and there it was less familiar with like parts of your family. But it was really interesting and like really good discussion, I thought too.
Yeah.
Like,
There's one card that is does vape to doesn't vape.
No,
That's hilarious.
That one's super fun. That
Like,
one's super
Matt Damon,
fun.
are you kidding me? Of course you, baby. Yeah, it's just,
Cards like that are what makes Wavelength so good.
that's true. That's so good.
Good shout there, good shout. Okay, number 35 on my list, down 6 spots, but still in a very respectable 35th place is Coloretto. So Braiden spoke about this in the last video. Great game, one of the simplest, like, this is one of those games that I heard about for years and I always dismissed it because I was like, this game is just like cards with these different colored chameleons. It's just a small card game. It's like $12. How good can it be? It's damn good. It's worth more than the cost of the game. So good. One of the most interactive games that is just a deck of cards with colors. Like, the art doesn't really matter. You could proxy this with any of your own cards, like kind of homemade. Don't though. Support the game, support the publisher, designer, whatever. Just sort of, again, similar to Can't Stop, where it's like simplicity of game design, but grueling decisions. Fun every time. I love Coloretto.
Yeah, do you take 2 cards versus waiting for a 3rd card where someone else is going to screw you over by putting the card in that HOF that you didn't want? So good.
You never know when the game's going to end. That a game end card is always in a different spot. Oh, I just love it.
That's such a good mechanic, man.
Yeah.
What do we have here now?
34.
Oh.
34 is a debut game, a new game I played this year for the first time, and it's debut on the list at number 34, and that is, I guess I should have my timer open here because I was about to say, and that is Oak. Oak is debuting at 34. I wasn't sure if this was going to fit on there.
That was your worst one yet, right?
Hey, you went in on
sorry, Dylan. Time.
No, it's all good.
Well done.
I knew I loved Oak after playing it, but I didn't know if it was going to make the list, and I didn't know that it would be above Evergreen. But the more I thought about the games, and specifically when those two got compared against each other above Meeple, I just had to really think hard about my experiences with them. And Oak is just one that I think the more I played it, and because we played with multiple player counts, and I've kind of experienced a lot that Oak has to offer, I just realized that it is a worker placement game that I just really love. And I don't know why that certain combination, I think it's the fact that every single mechanic that's on the board, like whether it's the potions or the pots, I forget the names of games or components all the time, but like the pots that you're brewing in there, or the artifacts or the creatures or whatever it is, all those have so many variations that can come out in every game, that every game of Oak that I've played has felt drastically different in some way or in what people are targeting. And I just find that really, really exciting. So, you know what? You took a lot of that.
I just didn't know if you were aware. That's all.
No, I'm aware. But yeah, Oak is just a really solid worker placement game. And I just think that the board is also really, like all the components and everything, when it's set up on the table, looks really beautiful as well.
+1 to the gotta play list.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Oak debuting at 34.
Solid.
Yeah.
A familiar
Solid
game.
Oak.
Familiar game at my 34.
Ooh, familiar.
This is Castles of Burgundy. Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah.
A Stone Cold classic, one we talked about on the channel, or these guys have talked about on the channel a bunch. But when I continued to grow in appreciation, I think we had a tournament run by Ted. Shout out to Ted on our Discord. The Castle really evolving depth from that game as well. And I think BGA really helped me see from repeated plays, like, how to play a little bit more optimally, looking at filling up your tiles spots specifically rather than trying to go for certain tiles and building in different ways.
Yep.
Very, very cool. I've really enjoyed like discovering that throughout, and just the different combos that you can pull off, again, depending on the dice that you roll as well. It's good. It's real good.
It's so good. And now Carlo has the extra pressure on him because he's the only one that's not going to put it on his top 50 this year.
I was going to say, it's one of those kind of, again, like 50 to 70 range games for me that I don't think will ever make my top 50, but I will give it credit for this. In terms of board game arena games to play asynchronously, it's one of the most satisfying to come back to and take that turn, because just when it's your turn, it's so fun. In person, I don't really care about other people's turns as much. Not enough player interaction. I can come back and just see which tiles are left for me. It's the perfect asynchronous game for BGA, I think.
Yeah, the ship tiles are whatever.
Number 34 on my list is a game that I fully expect to be higher up on both these guys' lists. It has dropped 2 spots for me. That is Lost Cities. One of the best 2-player only games out there. I think this is now my second or third Knizia game on the list. A game that we have played a lot, especially on Board Game Arena, but also in person. Hand management is just like excruciating decisions. Knizia does something in this game that I love, that I think wish more games did, which is where you play a card and then you draw at the end of your turn instead of starting your turn by gaining new information and having to reconsider everything you've done. It keeps the turns really, really snappy. And my favorite thing about this game by far is the kind of 3-round structure, because depending what the scores are after the first or second round, determine how much risk you want to kind of implement in how you play. If you're ahead by a decent portion, then you want to play safe to just kind of preserve your lead. If you're behind by 10 versus being behind by like 80 points, you have to completely adjust the way you play. And if you're behind by a lot, you can come back. We've seen crazy comebacks in this game where you just wait for those wager cards to get that big scoring opportunity. Love Lost Cities.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say anything more because I will have more to say later. But I mean, I'm happy it's still maintaining relatively the same spot on your list. But there was a part of me that just like, maybe you can move it up to where it belongs on this tier. But
I think one of the first games that I played actually with Sarah, that was like, the next step into board games or whatever. Like the one that I got introduced actually at our local game cafe when it first opened, and I was like, oh my god, we bought it immediately.
Yeah, so good.
And it was the best choice.
Yeah. Number 33 for me, 33, right? That's right.
33.
Has dropped 12 spots, and that is Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is an amazing co-op game. It's just honestly been a while since I played it, and with all the other games that have come onto this list and kind of bumped things around, that's really the only reason it's jumped down. My thoughts and my appreciation, my love for it hasn't really diminished at all. I think I need to be more proactive in suggesting this, because I can't remember ever introducing this to someone who's either played it or never played it, or it's been a while since they played it, that hasn't immediately wanted to play. Almost every time I play Ghost Stories, I play at least 2 games, because we lose the first game and then it's a challenge. Everyone's like, we can beat Ghost Stories, and then we do it again. It's just such a fun co-op game.
And then we still never beat it.
Yeah, and it's like that, the pandemic aspect of like managing all like the diseases that are spreading or whatever. It's like managing all the ghosts that are coming from every angle, but everyone has abilities that like are unique to them, and the center board of locations is different every game you play, and the way you utilize that is fun. It's a great co-op game. If you haven't tried it, really hard, but you should check it out.
Type of game that makes you ask yourself if you got any rules wrong, because like 3 turns in, you're already like drowning. You're like, we're about to lose. How did this happen? The game just started. Like,
yeah, totally.
I think I've only played this a couple times, and I felt that exact same way.
Yeah. Yeah, so like, I've actually never played the expansion. I'd love to just kind of see what it adds to the game, because maybe I don't even know anything about the expansion. It's one of those things where like people are like, say that it's better with it or whatever, but it's just such a good game.
It also got remade into The Last Bastion, which we've never played, and maybe that'll...
Oh, I didn't even know that. Or maybe I did know that, I just forgot.
I think it was like 2019-ish. Could be wrong. Anyway.
Number 33 on my list is maybe a surprise to Carlo, maybe not, is The Estates.
Nice!
The Estates, yes, I knew you had a reaction.
Someone else had it on their list.
Yeah, and honestly, I could see this climbing more. I only played this once with you, and I thought I had so much respect for the design and how variable the game could play out, the different bidding mechanics, what cubes get put up for auction. It immediately clicked with me And I cannot wait to play more of the estates. Just what tiles get or what cubes get built when. What is out there affects which companies you want to be bidding for, or trying to sewer the economy or keep the game going. Like, there's so much variation, and I just it flowed so well. It also
That's
flew
the past
by.
tense of flow, right?
It also flew by because I was having so much fun. But yeah, the estates, I thought it was just so good. And I also maybe because I won that game, but whatever.
Oh yeah, it's true. That's true. I think you wrecked us. This is one we're gonna have to like chain Dylan to the table and force him to play with us again to see if he actually likes it.
I was gonna
next
say
time around.
I was gonna comment, but I was gonna say I'll have more to say about this later. So
Yeah, when
It is
I
not on
talk
my
about
list.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't land with me the same way it does with you. But I've only played it once.
Yeah, it was only
To be
once.
fair, I'm open to being proven wrong by myself.
We'll just take it easy on Dylan next time, and then he'll like it more. He said it was too mean when we did that games we wish we liked more video or whatever, games we don't like, whatever it was. Oh yeah, me. Busy ragging on Dylan here. Number 33 for me has dropped 6 spots. Still a great game. That is Newsfjord. So another Uwe Rosenberg that is, I guess, sort of just a victim of other games going up higher on the list. Like, my opinion hasn't really changed. I still have only played this ever at 2 players, which I don't think is the ideal player count. I think 3 is probably best. But it's, in terms of a smaller package and a quicker game, it's the closest thing from Uwe Rosenberg to Agricola. And yes, I have played Caverna, but I do think Newsfjord gives more of a similar feeling of that tightness of the worker placement spots and all that kind of thing, because it's not sandboxy like Caverna. I love this game. I love how it distills the game down to 3 resources, fish, wood, and money. And it's just this kind of like, how much fish are you getting every round? And then it goes into this supply where you have a certain limit, but there's only 1 spot on the board, I guess depending on player count, of where you can actually move the fish into where you can use it. It's a very just tight game that plays super quick, kind of like Glass Road. We'll never turn down a game of this, and I will definitely be owning my own copy of this at some point. I think they're releasing the big box this year.
Oh, nice! I didn't even know that. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, it's definitely not higher, but I think it's one of the games that just barely slipped off my list this year.
Give me your copy already.
I know. I mean, you could probably just take it to your list for a while, but yeah, it's a good game. Like maybe it's the theme. Maybe I don't know what. I honestly can't explain what it is about it, but something about me just does. Or something about it just doesn't click with me the same way it clicks with you. And I kind of wish it did, because I can see all the pieces there that I love, and for some reason it just doesn't end up in a package that I'm like, oh, I love this game. But
You're just associated with Agricola and then hate on it unfairly.
that's probably what it is. Any game that comes near to being like Agricola, I'm like, ooh. Just kidding.
One day you'll see the light.
Number 32 on my list, down 17 spots. It was 15 last year, and that is Kingdom Builder. Kingdom Builder is still a game I love, and honestly, this one is a bit of a symptom. Just, I don't even think I played it all this year. If I did, I only played it once online. It could move back up because I still prefer it to Winter Kingdom, and I still really, really love the design. Even after having played it as much as I have and finding so many things that are similar in it, even between the games that I play, like I've gone to the point with Kingdom Builder, like specific powers being out or specific goals being out. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been in this type of game before. And even when I'm in that situation, I still don't find myself like having a bad time. I'm still enjoying, because the players are doing different things. Like the experience, the map is laid out differently. Like Kingdom Builder is just one of my comfort games now. It's just a game I can go and I can play, and I don't have to relearn any rules. I know them right off the bat, and I'm always guaranteed to remember how to do certain strategies, and I know I'm gonna have a good time with it. So it slipped a bit on this list, but I think that's just mostly because of a lot of other great games coming on and me not having played it.
Yeah, Kingdom Builder was one that you guys introduced to me, and I like it a lot. More to say later.
Interesting. It's one that was, I think, like number 28 for me last year or something, or maybe early 30s, and it's off my top 50 as a result of a certain other nameless game that might have replaced it.
Okay, right.
Fair.
Agricola. My number 32 is the game that, what's the name of it? It's Anomia.
Oh, well played. You've been planning that for a long time, haven't you?
That's right, in the past 5 seconds. Anomia, the game which caused my mother-in-law to make a goose sound, which is one of the reasons why I really, really love it. You get those moments of like not knowing like what to say, and like again, that like stress of like a card gets thrown down and you're like, type of cereal, and someone's like, oh, Walt Disney is a cartoonist. So thank you, I'll take that. And then that reveals another card, and like that, those chains like pulling off one another, and you're like, you're always like having to be on top of it and like thinking about, okay, what's going on, and just like, it's uproarious, I find, and one that I really enjoy. And again, super easy to get to the table and able to play with a wide variety of players too. So yeah, Anomia, slam dunk.
Nice. I loved this when we played it on the live stream, but it's been a couple years now, and it's the only time I've played it, but would love to play this again.
That's how I feel too. I ranked it, and it ended up somewhere between 50 and 70 for me. And I think if I just played it more or owned my own copy, it probably would have cracked it because I loved it too. Really good.
Coming in at number 32, this is if you've been keeping track, this is the first game that is new to my top 50. Was not in the top 50 last year.
So wait, just you said you have 9 new games in the top 50. And this is the first one at 32. That is a...
Yep. Again, go back to what I said at the beginning of the intro of the video, because there's a lot of new games coming higher on the list. This is Fields of Arle, an Uwe Rosenberg game that is for only 1 or 2 players, unless you have the Tea and Trade expansion, which brings it up to 3, which I already know my wife is getting me for Christmas on pre-order.
Because he can't buy any games.
Exactly. Oh, it's an expansion. Come on, it's an expansion. And yeah, she's buying it for me. It's an expansion. Get out of here. Okay, so I've only played this game solo. I haven't even played it with 2 players. I could see this potentially going higher up, and this is the biggest reason I would say I didn't want to mention when talking about a Feast Roden, but this is the biggest reason why Feast Roden has dropped further down the list, because in the past year, I've played Caverna and Fields of Arle both for the first time, and those 3 games are considered Uwe's sandbox games, and for me, Fields of Arle is kind of by far the best one, and the most sandboxy. The way that you have all the different actions you're playing, you can take some actions just in winter, some just in summer, and there's some that you can take in either season, and every action has a strength value to it, like how good are you at like chopping wood or whatever, and there's one spot on the board that lets you improve any of your other actions. I know my time is up. I could talk about this game a lot more. It's so good.
I will say that even though anytime someone says that something's better than a Feast Roden, I say it's egregious. But I will say, because I haven't played this, I'm open to the idea of being proven wrong. And the way you're describing it, it sounds intriguing to me. The problem for me is that like I love a Feast Roden at 3 players. That's my favorite count. So with the expansion, I'll play it at 3. Yeah, I'm just curious whether the restriction of only being able to play it at 2, because I don't gravitate to Uwe games solo that often, if that would be like hold it back. But the way you describe it, I mean, I'm very, very intrigued. I really want to play it.
Well, we'll either play it 2 players, or when the expansion comes in, if you're interested, we can play it with 3.
Add it to the list.
Nice.
All right, last game for me for this video at number 31, up 6 spots. I believe it's 6 spots from last year, and that is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. Tzolk'in is a game I've played once this last year only. And again, as I was kind of re-ranking my list, talking about games that are like, which ones I think are the most fun, and I just think there's so much novel about Tzolk'in. There's so much exciting about Tzolk'in, moving the gears, and it honestly is just a really fun game. It's not perfect. There's things about it that every time I play it, you know, even every single game I've played, there's things about the gears that kind of bother me or make it tricky. But I just find it really challenging. I find it really hard sometimes to plan ahead. And in worker placement games, sometimes the only thing stopping from planning ahead is just someone taking your spot. Whereas I feel like in Tzolk'in, it's that, but it's also you having to make decisions on the fly, adjust, see where it'd be like, I was gonna take this, but I'm gonna stay on the gear longer, or I need to take it back now because I need a worker. And I just find it really satisfying. It's a really fun game. It's so much fun to use the gears, and it's a game that I kind of want to play more and be the one to advocate for more.
Would you say like the annoying parts of Tzolk'in really grind your gears?
They grind my gears so bad. How do you just have puns like in your pockets and you're just pulling them out left and right?
That's right.
I wish.
Oh, there goes one right now.
I wish I had that skill.
Great game.
My number 31, I think, is another triple crossover.
Triple crossover.
We'll insert the audio.
Triple crossover.
Ink and Gold.
Yeah. Nice.
Ink and Gold, one that I just bought for myself just recently, actually, but I played a bunch. Even just on BTA has been really fun. I'm looking forward to playing this in person. And it's kind of crazy that I have this above both of you guys and I haven't played it in person. That means that it's ready to like get slingshot further in years to come too. So I'm really excited. I've had a lot of fun playing Ink and Gold, and I can really see the potential to it too. It just like, again, those reveals of like, are they gonna, like, everyone's like, I could see someone cheering like right to like, okay, crash and burn. I live for those moments.
Isn't it a great feeling when you're the last one left and it's safe? Everyone kind of got greedy from them, and you just keep like turning over cards and turning over cards, and there's just a pile of gems, and you take like 20 some one turn, and everyone's just like, we just lost the game on that one round.
So good. Yeah, I love that push your luck game.
All right, number 31, the last game we'll be speaking about in this video, up 18 spots.
Wow.
Big climber for me, not quite Fields of Arle because that shot.
18 spots. Oh, up 18 spots.
Yeah, up 18 spots from last year. Last year was 49.
What is this?
A game that we've all played, not together.
Quacks of Quedlinburg.
We've played it 2 players. We've played it 2 players. Ginkopolis. One of the most interesting, unique, and one of the most impressive design. Like, this is one of those games you just have to tip your hat to the designer whether you like the game or not, because the fact that it combines drafting, tile laying, area majority, hand management, resource man, like there's so many things in this game, and it's so interactive. The way that you're kind of building out this city, you start with this basic kind of grid, and you're taking actions that will either expand the city outwards in different directions or expand it upwards. And there's 3 different kind of colors, red, yellow, and blue, and you're trying to create these big districts and have the majority in them by the end of the game. But sometimes you place a tile that like splits this big district in 2. You put a blue tile in between this big red thing, and now it's split into 2, and you change the majorities that's going on. Or you put a tile that connects to, and suddenly you've won the majority. There's so many interesting things that happen every time I play the game. It takes a few games to really understand what's going on, but if you can get over the hump, it's so rewarding. And I would love to play this with you guys as a group of 3.
I really want to play it again. I've only played it the once, and it was at the end of a super long board gaming session. It was like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I was like falling asleep while playing it. Didn't do it justice. I need to play it properly.
And it was one of my worst rule teaches ever. I will just say right now. So I accept responsibility for why it didn't land for you, and I'll do better next time, I promise.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it when I played with you this summer, I think it was.
Yes.
But yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And that's it. That is a 40 to 31. If you celebrate Christmas, tomorrow is Christmas, so Merry Christmas. We will be back on Boxing Day with our 30 to 21. And then obviously 2 days after that, the next one, 2 days after that, you'll see our 10 to 1. So again, leave us some comments. Tell us what you thought about these picks. And tell us what your predictions are for the next 3 videos, or what you think is in our top 10. We'd love to hear. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
There's no better time to join the Discord. Come talk about these
No
topics
better time
with
to join
us.
the Discord. Join the Discord now.
Discord.
Discord.